It's like they knew how to play the game. They knew. Your average Joe Schmo had no clue. Here's the thing. I learned this a long time ago. I used to work at a Goodwill when I was in college. I worked at a Goodwill donation center. Literally the most worthless job I've ever had. Now, let me say a few good words about the company of Goodwill. The idea of accepting donations to provide employment opportunities, particularly for people with developmental disabilities, I think is fantastic. And it did provide, for a lot of people I've worked with in my new line of work, and actually provided a lot of opportunities. So I have no problems with the corporation of Goodwill, the company of Goodwill. For those that don't know, it's sort of like the Salvation Army. People, they rely on donations, people donating toys or entertainment items or clothing, and then they take those, clean them, and then sell them, and then use those profits to pay for the, I assume everyone knows what Goodwill is, though. Maybe not if you're not in the United States. So I worked at a donation center. The reason my job was worthless was I'm basically not allowed to look at anything. So if you bring a bag in, I'm not allowed to open the bag, right? Now, there were certain items we weren't allowed to take, but there's also booths, or there's bins there. So, like, I clock out at 8 o'clock. If I tell you, like, hey, man, we're not allowed to take baby cribs, they'd say, okay, because there were recalls and what have on them. Then I'd leave at 8 and you come in the next morning and there's that same baby crib you just turned down. They just wait until you're not there and then drop it off anyways. So, but the one reason I had to be there was tax. Weirdest thing I ever saw donated was bags of leaves that I had to turn down. Someone brought their garbage bags filled with leaves. And I was like, well, how does this work? Do you think we're going to sell dirty leaves? And the lady was like, but people use these for decorations. And I was like, right, they're free everywhere. No one's buying garbage bags full of dirty leaves. That was this woman was furious at me. Absolutely furious that I wouldn't take these leaves. What am I supposed to do with them? I'm like, burn them like everyone else? Anyways. One of the things we did was you could sign receipts for people that drop off donations that they could then write against their taxes. You could donate up to $5,000 to Goodwill of merchandise that you could use as a charitable contribution to write off on your taxes. So the way it would work would be, how do you value something, right? I'm not like on Antiques Roadshow. Someone comes in with an old coffee table and I'm like, yeah, circa 1933, that's a $4,000 piece there. I don't know. And I'm not allowed to say. So we could give recommendations. I could be like, bag of clothes, $125, $100. But I wasn't allowed to make a valuation. And I'm not even allowed to open a bag. And so people would just value it what they wanted. And then they would fill it out and then I would sign the receipt. Then they take that to whoever does their taxes. Here, $5,000 donation. If they get audited, there it is. There's the proof. So people would bring like 3 big black garbage bags full of clothes and be like, suits, $5,000. 3 garbage bags full of clothes. Yep, that's real expensive stuff. I'm not even allowed to open the bag. And even if I could, I mean, unless it's just like t-shirts and gym shorts, if there's dress shirts in there and they say, oh, that's a $500 shirt, I just have to take their word. So this happened all the time. I'd have to sign these receipts, and it was always like the maximum. Not always, but a lot of times, $5,000. And what I quickly realized, because it's a small town, right? You know who did this? You know the type of, I'm not going to mention any specific names, but you know the type of people that I came to realize? Take a guess. Who do you think the type of person was that was putting these huge numbers on for their tax donations? Let me just make it real simple. Do you think it was the middle class people around here? You think it was the poor people? That's right, Rich Bull. It was the people that had money in this town. It was the wealthy. Now, when I say wealthy around here, this ain't like Elon Musk, right? Wealthy around here is probably not like wealthy from where you're from if you're in a city. But still, it's the people you knew that owned the local shops that were doing well. Not the people that owned the haircut salon, but it was like the people that owned apartments that they were renting to everyone. You know, half of town, or they owned a bunch of land. It's like they knew how to play the game. They knew. Your average Joe Schmo had no clue. Your average person that's just coming in like, hey, I had a toddler. They grew out of these clothes. Here you go. And you'd be like, hey, you could write that off. Most of those people were taking the standardized deduction anyways. Yeah, I don't begrudge those people for playing the game either. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying those who know. And most of us don't know. Well, my wife worked at a bank during COVID. It was the same with the PPP loans. She was shocked at how little people knew. There were people coming in desperate, pulling out of their savings accounts because they're trying to desperately, like you own a haircut place and you're not allowed to stay open, but your employees are screwed. So you still are trying to pay them, but you don't know what to do. So you're taking money out of your personal savings. And my wife's like, everybody that was good to go and had big chunks of money, they were coming in getting those loans. But the people that really needed it, they had no clue. They didn't even know where to begin. They just would be like, I heard about this? What is that? And it was very sobering to see that. It was like, oh, some of those loans went very necessary places. Some of them went to people that really didn't need the loan because they were financially well-to-do anyways. And some of them just went straight up people that were scamming. Oh, I created a corporation with my brother. We detail cars. So $75,000, please, or whatever the amounts were. Amazing. I forget what it is. Isn't it up to like tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars that they say were fraudulently given away in those PPP loans? How can a country exist like this with that much money just fraudulently taken? And it's policy after policy that this happens.